If you walked into a dealership, bought a brand new car, and they told you the steering wheel was sold separately to save the environment, you will laugh in their faces and walk out. Think about it. Look at the device in your hand right now. Over the last few upgrade cycles, you've been slowly, deliberately conditioned to pay premium astronomical prices for devices that give you less battery life in favor of ultra thin design, less hardware in the box, and honestly, less actual tangible innovation. They took away your charger, they took away your headphone jack. Now they are stripping out actual camera hardware and replacing it with AI generation. And the wildest part, they are charging you double what you paid 4 years ago for this privilege. Man, this is the greatest shrinkflation trick in the modern tech. Today, we are breaking down 7 industry trends that manufacturers have quietly, confidently normalized, and why 2026 needs to be the year we say stop. We finally stop buying the hype. Let us get started. First, the death of compact phones. I want to start here because this one hits different. If you've been using smartphones for a while, just pull up a photo of, let's say, the Galaxy S7. That phone launched in 2016. It had 5.1-inch screen. It felt amazing in the hand. You could actually use it one-handed without performing thumb gymnastics. You could slide it into your pocket and actually forget it was there. Now, look at the S26, right? The smallest version. It is sitting at 6.3 inches. 6.3. That is what they are calling compact. Nobody voted for this. I don't think there was any survey where millions of people said, please make my phone bigger, make my phone heavier, make my phone wider. What happened is simpler than that. A bigger screen needs a bigger battery to power a bigger chip, and a bigger device lets brands charge a bigger price. That is the mass. Your comfort when using your phone was never part of the question. And the people who suffer this the most are those with small hands. Thank God I have big hands, and even though I'm using the Ultra and Pro Maxes and all, I don't really, I feel it sometimes, but what of those that have smaller palms than myself? Now, if you're observant, this change did not happen just in one night or one day. It happened gradually. 5.2 inch to 5.3 to 5.4 to 5 points, then 6 points. And before you know it, our smartphones will be competing with the size of a tablet. I'm sure gamers will love this. But what of the average user? Number 2, the ultra thin obsession nobody asked for. Connected to the sizing conversation is this, the ultra thin obsession. This one genuinely baffles me because the market already gave the industry a clear answer and they still don't seem to have heard it. 2025, Samsung will launch the Galaxy S25 Edge, 5.8 millimeters thin. Genuinely, it is an impressive engineering. $1,100. Apple drops the iPhone Air shortly after at 5.6 millimeters, even thinner. Both of them flopped. The S25 Edge moved about 1.3 million units in its first quarter. Meanwhile, the Galaxy S25 Ultra, thick, heavy, built like it's meant business, sold 12 million in the same window. That is 10 to 1. Samsung quietly killed the S26 Edge before it even launched. Apple was cutting iPhone Air production before the year was halfway done. Consumers said it with money, loudly. We do not care about shaving another millimeter off the chassis. We care about our phones not dying at 4 p.m. with 8% battery left while we are still in traffic or probably far away from home. You cannot physically fit a powerful battery into a phone that thin. Well, at the point I'm making this video, who knows? Technology may advance tomorrow and yeah. But the marketing team keeps trying. Just give me a phone I can actually use all day. That is what I'm asking. Number 3, the charger removal scam. Now, you see this one I need everybody to really pay attention to. In 2020, Apple removed the charger from the box of the iPhone 12, right? The reason they gave is because of sustainability, smaller packaging, more units per shipping pallets, less e-waste. The story was beautiful.
And there are also over 2 billion Apple Power adapters out in the world. And that's not counting the billions of third-party adapters. So we are removing these items from the iPhone box, which reduces carbon emissions and avoids the mining and use of precious materials. Removing these items also means a smaller, lighter iPhone box. We can fit up to 70% more products on a shipping pallet. reducing carbon emissions in our global logistics chain.
Samsung even made fun of them for this. They posted ads, called them out publicly, then later deleted all those posts. The next thing they did was to follow suit. Google Pixel did the same. Xiaomi in their flagship, so on their flagship, did the same. Now, here is where this actually gets disrespectful. In 2026, phones like the Galaxy S25 and the iPhone 17 are advertising 45-watt fast charging as a major feature. It is on a spec sheet, it is on a launch video. They talk about it like it is something you are paying for. But there is no charger in the box. That old 5-watt or 10-watt brick you've had in your drawer since 2020 or so, it cannot output 45 watts. So if you actually want to use the fast charging that they just sold to you, right, you have to go back to the same store and spend an extra $30 to $50 on the right power adapter, which comes in its own packaging, on its own delivery, with its own environmental footprint. Let's be real about what is happening here. A charging brick costs these companies roughly $12 to manufacture at scale, across hundreds of millions of devices. Removing it adds billions with a B, directly to the bottom line. It might also reduce some plastic, fine, but they chose to tell you only one of those things, and I think you deserve to know both. They are making more money not adding charger to the box and also reselling the same charger again than just packing it all at once. Imagine I'm spending 2 million naira, 2.5 million naira, 3 million, 1.5 million naira for a phone, and I still go and buy charging brick elsewhere. What is really going on? I don't know why we're not even angry enough about this. This happened to one of my friends, right? A few months after she bought the brand new 16 Pro Max, the charging IC got damaged. And when she went to the technician, they told her it's because she was using fake charging brick. Then she told me she even got it quite expensive, I think about 30 to 40k. But if Apple, Samsung, Google Pixel, all those brands just put in the charging brick inside, most people will have an issue when it comes to fixing their phone, because most times what causes issues in smartphones is as a result of the kind of charger they use. Number 4, ecosystem locking through earphone removal. They did this for a charger though, because once you accept one remover, the door is open. The headphone jack disappeared. Okay, we're adapting, sure. And when that happened, at least manufacturers softened the blow by including USB-C or Lightning earphones in the box, some kind of solution for day one. Then those went to same justification, sustainability. But here is what actually happened. Removing a $5 pair of wired earphones didn't just cut a bit of box weight, it forced the entire global consumer base, every single person who buys a phone, into the wireless audio ecosystem. An ecosystem where the same brands have partnership or direct ownership in the products you now have to buy. Let's walk through the mass they built for us. You spend over 1 million, 2 million naira, or let's say thousands of dollars, right, on a flagship. There is no headphone jack, there is no earphones in the box. So now you either buy a cheap dongle that stops you from charging while you listen, or you spend another 150 or let's say 250 on wireless earbuds. And those earbuds, they are great products actually, but the batteries inside them are finished in 2 to 3 years. After that, you are back to the store again, buying again. The cycle never ends, and it was designed not to. They didn't reduce e-waste, they created a repeat purchase loop and dressed it up as an environmental responsibility. That is the real move. Number 5, AI bloatware. Do you remember the old Android bloatware era? You would buy a new phone today and it came loaded with 15 apps you never asked for. Career apps, random games, some mystery navigation tools that you couldn't even delete. Man, those days, people were furious. The tech community pushed back hard. The brands got called out publicly and eventually they cleaned it up. Minimal interfaces, clean software. It felt like a genuine win for consumers. And then AI arrived. Now, I want you to watch this because what you're looking at is bloatware. It is just wearing a smarter suit. On certain major Android phones right now, there are folders on your home screen that auto-download apps you never searched for. There are proactive AI assistants that interrupt your mid-email, mid-video, and mid-whatever. There are deep system integration with third-party services, Microsoft, LinkedIn, various platforms, pre-baked into a phone you paid full retail price for. Here's my position on this. I paid for this device outright. I am not renting it. There is no advertising subsidy built into purchase price. So why is there a folder on my home screen that fills itself with apps that benefit the manufacturer's partnership? They took the thing consumers hated, rebranded it as a smart feature, and put it back. And because it has AI in its name now, it gets applause in a keynote instead of backlash in the comments. We need to stop letting that work. Number 6, the upgrade illusion. Here's what I think a lot of people feel but haven't quite put words to yet. Pick up a flagship phone from 2022. Now pick up the same version, that is the 26 version, right? The benchmark numbers on the new ones are higher. The camera scores are better on paper. But if you handed a 2022 phone to someone who has never seen that either, they wouldn't feel like they're holding something outdated because they wouldn't be. I finished my previous video where I said we should stop buying newer flagship when older flagship can do the job. You can go and watch that so you can get the full gist for this section. Number 7, the generative camera lie. I saved this one for last because it is the one I feel most strongly about, and I want to be precise because the comments on this topic always get messy. Now, I'm not saying 2026 phones take bad photos. The output is often stunning. What I'm saying is that what you think you are capturing and what the phone is actually giving you are two increasingly different things, and the gap is growing. Every flagship right now is running your images through an AI processing pipeline before you ever see the results. You tap the shutter, the phone doesn't just record light, it analyzes the scene, reference a neural network, decides what it thinks the image should look like, and essentially repaints it for you. Your photo is a starting point. The final output is an interpretation. Now, why did this happen? It is not complicated. Better physical sensors cost real money. Premium optics cost real money. Training an AI processing algorithm to fake details, it is way more cheaper. So the industry leaned into software to cut corners on hardware and package the whole thing as a camera revolution. And then the spec sheet numbers got truly out of hand. Yes, I'm going to drag my beloved Samsung here. 200 megapixel, 100 times zoom. Here is what they will never see at a launch event. More megapixels on a tiny sensor doesn't mean better photo. It means a larger file of a worse image. When you cram 200 million pixels onto a sensor the size of your thumbnail, each individual pixel becomes tiny. The tiny pixels can't capture enough light. Not enough light means the processing pipeline has to work harder to fill in the gap. And when it fills, you get a beautifully high-resolution picture of a processing failure. See, I love this space, honestly. The engineering happening inside these devices is extraordinary by any measure. We are walking around with connected supercomputers in our pockets. That deserves respect. But respecting the hardware doesn't mean accepting everything the business model does around it. Those are two separate things. The brands will keep pushing these trends for as long as it is profitable. The only thing that actually changes that equation is informed consumers. People who understand what they're actually paying for, who can see through the keynote languages, and who are willing to skip an upgrade cycle when the value isn't there. Your 2023 phone is probably fine. Give it another year. Make them earn it. So guys, let me talk about this in the comment section. And as always, I want you to stay sharp, stay smart, smart steps.